The royal palace of Aravian had never been this silent. The tall crystal walls were glowing softly, but every soldier, every servant, and every minister stood frozen. Something unbelievable had just been announced. Queen Melira, the ruler of the galaxy's strongest alien race, stood in the center of the grand hall. Her voice echoed like thunder, shaking the pillars around her. "My daughter is pregnant with a human's child," she cried. No one dared to breathe. Alien nobles lowered their eyes. Guards stepped back in fear. Humans and aliens never shared blood. A child between them was not only forbidden, it was impossible. But Princess Lorana stood quietly at the bottom of the stairs. Her silver hair fell across her shoulders, and her hands were shaking. She knew the truth would come out eventually, but she never expected the entire kingdom to hear it like this. Queen Melira stepped closer, her eyes sharp like burning stars. "Tell me the name of the human." Lorana kept her eyes on the floor. Her voice was soft, almost breaking. "Mother, he saved my life. I cannot let you harm him." The queen's anger grew stronger. She lifted her staff, and the whole hall flashed with blue light. "Humans are weak. They are reckless. My daughter cannot carry the child a human. Bring him to me, alive or broken." The royal guards immediately turned and marched out of the hall, preparing their ships to hunt the unknown human father. Whispers spread to the palace like fire. Everyone wanted to know who the human was. What kind of man could do something so impossible? But far away, on a quiet mining station near the edge of the galaxy, a simple human engineer named Evan Cole had no idea what was coming. He was repairing a broken power line when a small pendant around his neck started glowing bright blue. He froze and stared at it. The pendant was a gift from Princess Lorana months earlier, back when he had saved her in the crystal caves. The glow meant danger. The glow meant she was calling him. Evan touched the pendant carefully. "Lorana, what happened?" he whispered. His friends noticed his worried face, but before he could say anything, the alarms outside the station began to ring. Giant alien ships entered the sky. The ground shook. People ran for cover. The Queen's elite squad had arrived. Back in the palace, Lorana felt the baby move for the first time. It was small, but warm, and she placed her hand on her stomach with fear and love mixed together. She whispered to herself, "They will hunt him. I must reach him first." The Queen watched her daughter with cold eyes. For her, this was not a child. It was a threat to her entire kingdom. The hall doors slammed shut, marking the beginning of the hunt. The galaxy had just learned of a secret that should never have existed, and a human who had no idea his life was about to change forever. Before the kingdom learned the impossible secret, there was a night that changed everything. A night Princess Lorana and a simple human engineer should never have survived. It happened deep inside the crystal caves of Aravian, a place so dangerous even soldiers feared entering. The air was sharp, filled with floating blue dust that hummed softly. Princess Lorana was there on a secret royal mission, studying ancient energy stones. She moved with quiet steps, carrying a glowing tablet in her hand. At the same time, Evan Cole was working nearby, repairing a damaged mining scanner. He had never seen an alien princess before. He didn't even know someone so important was in the caves with him. Everything changed in one heartbeat. A sudden explosion shook the cave. The ground cracked open. Heavy crystal blocks fell from the roof. Lights went out. The tunnel behind Lorana collapsed, trapping her inside a small chamber. Her tablet shattered, and dust filled the air. Lorana stumbled and cried for help, but her voice barely echoed. Her leg was pinned under a fallen stone, and she couldn't move. Miles away in another section of the cave, Evan heard the blast. "Someone's trapped," he said, and ran toward the sound without thinking. His team shouted for him to stop, but Evan didn't care. He moved through smoke, climbed over broken rocks, and squeezed through tight passages until he found her. For a moment, he froze. He couldn't believe his eyes. A princess, an alien princess, lying injured and terrified. But Evan didn't see a princess. He saw a person who needed help. He rushed to her side and pushed a heavy stone off her leg, ignoring the pain in his arms. Lorana gasped when she realized he was human. No alien royalty had ever been this close to a human before. Why? Why did you come for me? She whispered. Evan looked confused. Because you're hurt. That's enough reason. She stared at him, surprised. No one in the palace ever spoke to her with such simple honesty. Another explosion shook the cave. The roof above them cracked more. A giant crystal block fell, almost crushing them both. But Evan grabbed Lorana and pulled her into a small tunnel. Their bodies pressed close as dust filled the air. Hours passed. They were trapped together in darkness, breathing the same cold air. Lorana tried to stay strong, but pain hit her again and again. Evan supported her, kept her awake, shared his water, and talked to her so she wouldn't panic. They told each other stories. They laughed quietly. They argued about strange human foods and alien customs. And in those quiet moments, something impossible happened. Something neither of them understood. When their hands accidentally touched, the crystals around them glowed bright blue, lighting the whole cave. Lorana pulled her hand back in shock, but the glow remained. Evan whispered, "What was that?" Lorana didn't know, but her heart beat faster. When rescue teams finally pulled them out, both of them walked out changed. And that night was where everything truly began. The galaxy did not stay quiet after the Queen's announcement. In every corner of Aravian's capital, fear spread like wildfire. A child between a human and an alien princess. It challenged the laws of nature, the rules of the kingdom, and the pride of the royal bloodline. Queen Maelira did not waste a single moment. She summoned her elite royal squad, warriors trained to hunt star beasts and criminals across galaxies. Their silver armor shone under the palace lights as they kneeled before the queen. Her voice was cold and sharp. "Find the human who touched my daughter. Bring him to me, alive but on his knees." The squad rose without a word. They activated their search devices, scanning every star route, every ship record, every human settlement. Soon, they found a trace, the mining station where Evan Cole worked. The queen nodded once. The hunt began. On the mining station, Evan Cole was still staring at the glowing pendant around his neck. He didn't understand why it was shining again. The last time it glowed was inside the cave, when he and Lorana had touched hands. That moment had changed the cave's energy. Now, it felt like the moment was calling back to him. His friend Marco noticed a strange light. "Bro, that thing looks dangerous." Evan shook his head. "It's not dangerous. It's a sign." But before he could explain, the ground trembled. The lights flickered. A deep rumbling sound shook the metal floors. Everyone ran outside. Through the thick mining fog, 3 massive alien ships descended, their engines glowing blue. No human ship had that kind of power. The workers panicked. Alien royal ships. Run. Sirens blared. Doors locked. People hid behind crates and machinery. But Evan didn't move. Something in his heart whispered that this was about Lorana. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. The elite squad lands. The alien ships opened, and the elite warriors stepped out like shadows. Their helmets scanned the humans one by one. Target: human male, age 27. Name: Evan Cole. The miners heard it. They looked at Evan with fear, confusion, and sympathy. Marco whispered, "Evan, what did you do?" Before Evan could answer, the flying drone circled him. Guards pointed energy spears at his chest. He raised his hand slowly. "I didn't hurt her. I saved her." But the aliens didn't care. They grabbed him and locked his arms behind his back. Evan didn't resist. He was afraid that fighting would make things worse for Lorana. As they dragged him toward the ship, Evan shouted one last time, "Is she safe? Tell me if she's safe." The elite captain stopped for a moment and looked back. The princess is unharmed for now. Those words hit him harder than any weapon. In the palace, back on Aravian, Princess Lorana felt a sudden sharp pain in her chest. Something was happening to Evan. She could feel it. She placed her hand on her stomach and whispered, "Hold on, I will find you." But she didn't know her mother had already ordered Evan's capture. And now, he was on his way to the royal palace. In chains. Princess Lorana sat alone in her room, the heavy doors sealed from the outside. The queen's orders were strict. No one enters. No one leaves. The princess must remain inside until the human is found. But Lorana already knew the truth. Evan was found, and he was being taken to the palace in chains. She paced across the glowing floor, her hands shaking, her heart racing faster than ever. Her unborn child moved again, lightly, softly, but each movement felt like a warning. "Your father is in danger," she whispered, touching her stomach with trembling fingers. "I must reach him before Mother destroys him." Outside her room, 2 royal guards stood firm. They believed the princess was safely locked inside. They didn't know that Lorana was far more powerful than anyone expected, especially when protecting the people she loved. She walked toward the window, placed her hand on the crystal glass, and breathed deeply. Her blue energy glowed between her fingers. With one sharp pulse, the glass shifted and reshaped, forming an opening just wide enough for her to slip through. The guards heard nothing. Lorana stepped outside onto a narrow balcony and looked down at the palace landing docks. Ships lined up like sleeping beasts. One of them belonged to her, a small, fast Royal Scout ship, perfect for escape. The escape, using the shadows, she climbed down from the balcony, ignoring the pain in her leg from the old cave injury. She reached the storage hall, where several young servants gasped when they saw her. "Princess, you're not allowed." She raised her hand gently. "Please, I need a ship. Evan is in danger." They looked at each other, afraid of breaking the queen's law. But they also saw the fear and love in Lorana's eyes. Slowly, one of them nodded and opened the hangar door. Lorana stepped inside the ship, touched the control panel, and whispered, "Take me to the human." The engines roared. The ship lifted into the sky and shot out of the palace like a streak of silver light. By the time the alarms activated, she was already in orbit, searching for Evan. She tracked the royal squad's route, following the energy signatures their ships left behind. Hours passed as she flew through cosmic storms and asteroid paths. She didn't rest. She didn't blink. Finally, she reached a human mining station, but it was quiet. Too quiet. Black burn marks were on the ground. Broken tools lay everywhere. And in one corner of the station yard, she found something that made her heart stop. A piece of broken chain, glowing faint blue. Evan's chain. She dropped to her knees, holding it tightly. "They took him," she whispered. "They're taking him to Mother for punishment." Her eyes filled with tears, but not of fear, of anger, of determination. She stood up, wiped her face, and activated the ship again. "I will reach you, Evan," she said, "even if I must fight my own kingdom." And with a burst of light, the princess flew back toward the royal palace, ready to break every law written in the stars. The royal palace was colder than ever when Evan arrived, chains wrapped around his wrists and ankles. His clothes were dusty from the struggle, yet he walked with steady steps, refusing to bow his head even when the alien guards pushed him forward. The great hall opened before him, tall, glowing, and filled with hundreds of alien nobles. Their eyes burned with judgment. Their whispers echoed like wind through metal. "That's a human?" He touched the princess. Impossible, disgusting, dangerous. Evan ignored them. He only wanted to see Lorana. If she was safe, he could face anything. The guards forced him to his knees. At the top of the staircase stood Queen Melira, her presence sharp and powerful. She looked down at Evan as if he was a criminal who had destroyed her world. Her voice sliced through the hall. "Human, what did you do to my daughter?" Evan took a slow breath. He was afraid, but he would not lie. "I saved her life," he said. "I stood with her in the caves. I helped her walk when she couldn't. I protected her when the roof collapsed." The queen's eyes narrowed. "And then, did you touch her? Did you break the laws of our bloodline?" Evan shook his head firmly. "I never touched her with wrong intentions. I respected her. I cared for her. That is all." The hall erupted in shouts. "Lies! Humans are weak. He must be punished." The queen raised her hand, and silence fell instantly. She stepped forward, her long robe moving like a trail of fire. "My daughter carries a child," she said coldly. "A child that should not exist. A child made from human blood." She looked directly into Evan's eyes. "You created this curse." Evan's heart stopped, not because of fear, but because of the truth hitting him all at once. A child? His child? He whispered, "Lorana, why didn't you tell me?" The queen lifted her staff. Blue energy sparked at the top, swirling like a storm. "For breaking our laws," she declared, "you will be judged. Your fate will be decided now." The energy grew stronger. Evan closed his eyes. If this was the end, he hoped at least Lorana and the child would live. Then the doors exploded open. Light burst into the hall as Princess Lorana stormed inside. Her face was fierce, her hair blowing behind her, and her hands glowed with sharp blue power. Guards rushed toward her, but she knocked them aside with a single wave of her energy. The hall gasped. She ran straight to Evan and stood between him and the queen. Her voice thundered, "If you harm him, mother, you harm your grandchild." Silence. Complete silence. Even the queen froze. Lorana placed her hand on her stomach, tears shining in her eyes. "This child is not a curse. This human is not a danger. He is the man who saved my life and the father of my child." Evan looked up at her, shocked and moved. And for the first time, the queen's anger changed into something else. Fear? Doubt? Realization? No one could tell. But everything in the hall changed forever. The great hall was silent after Princess Lorana's words. Every noble, every guard, every advisor stood frozen. No one had ever seen a royal heir defend a human with such courage. Evan, still on his knees, looked up at Lorana with disbelief. Her hands were glowing softly, one resting over her stomach. She stood like a shield in front of him, ready to fight her own kingdom if needed. Queen Meilira stared at her daughter for a long moment. Her anger had been powerful, but now something else crept into her face. Confusion, maybe even fear. "Lorana," the queen whispered, "do you understand what you're saying? A human child, our enemies will mock us. Your bloodline will be questioned." Lorana shook her head firmly. "Let them mock. Let them question. This child is alive. This child is innocent." Her voice softened, but stayed strong. "And Evan is not a threat. He is brave. He saved me when no royal guard could reach me." The queen looked at Evan again. For the first time, she didn't see a criminal. She saw a man, tired, afraid, but honest. Slowly, she descended the stairs. Each step echoed through the hall. When she reached Lorana, she touched her daughter's stomach. A soft pulse of light spread between her hand and the unborn child. Her eyes widened. There was power inside the baby, a rare, ancient energy, something neither human nor alien had ever held. This energy is impossible," the queen whispered. "It feels pure, strong, unpredictable." Lorana nodded. "Life found a way, mother. And maybe the universe wants this child here." The queen stood quietly. The entire hall waited for her judgment. Finally, she turned to Evan. "Human," she said softly, "stand." Evan slowly rose to his feet, still confused, still expecting punishment. But the queen surprised everyone. "I believed you brought danger to my daughter, but I see now she trusts you. She risked everything for you." She paused, then spoke words no one expected. "You are free." The hall gasped. Lorana let out a shaky breath of relief, her eyes filling with tears. Evan looked down, overwhelmed, unsure if he should believe it. The queen continued, "But understand this. The child you two created will not be ordinary. Many will fear it. Many will want to control it." Her voice grew serious. "If this child is to be born, you both must be stronger than any threat that comes." Evan nodded. "I will protect them with my life." Lorana stepped closer to him, her hands slipping into his gently, their fingers intertwined, glowing faintly with the same mysterious energy that first lit the caves. For the first time, the queen did not pull them apart. She only said, "A new future begins today. one that could unite our worlds or destroy them. Evan looked at Lorana with quiet determination. We'll make it a future worth fighting for. And as the palace lights dimmed around them, the three of them stood together, a queen, a princess, and a simple human engineer, all connected by a child powerful enough to change the galaxy forever.